Imagine holding a simple dime in your hand, the kind you barely notice when it slips into your pocket, only to discover it's worth more than a luxury car or even a house. In this episode, we're diving into 3 fascinating Roosevelt dimes with shocking minting errors, including one 1974 D dime that stunned collectors by selling for a jaw-dropping $260,000. Stay tuned, because these tiny coins prove big treasures can hide in plain sight. The year 2000 brought many changes and moments in American life. But for coin collectors, it also delivered one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern numismatics: the 2000 P. Roosevelt dime, with rare minting errors that elevated an ordinary 10-cent coin into a true treasure. At first glance, the Roosevelt dime seems so simple and unremarkable. It has been in our pockets and purses for decades, slipped into soda machines, laundry slots, and change jars without anyone thinking twice. Yet when we look closer at certain examples struck in 2000 at the Philadelphia Mint, we see that what should have been just another small denomination coin instead became a rare and highly prized collectible, with auction values soaring into the tens of thousands. Collectors today are captivated by this dime because it represents how something most people ignore can transform into an object of obsession, sometimes fetching prices between $28,000 and $130,000, depending on condition, rarity, and the uniqueness of the error involved. To understand why the 2000 P. Roosevelt dime is so significant, we first need to look back at the design itself and the legacy it carries. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away the year before. His leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, along with his work in founding the March of Dimes to fight polio, made him a natural choice to be immortalized on the 10-cent coin. The obverse features his profile facing left, the word liberty arching along the edge, and the motto, "In God We Trust," placed to the lower left. Just below Roosevelt's neck, the initials JS stand for John Sinek, the coin's designer. On the reverse, a torch flanked by an olive branch, an oak branch symbolizes liberty, peace, and strength, with the words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum surrounding the design, and the denomination 1 dime below to be why the year 2000. This design was more than 5 decades old, but still familiar and trusted in circulation. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of these coins for daily commerce. With such large mintages, one would expect them all to be uniform and ordinary, but that year some unexpected minting errors slipped through, creating varieties that would later shock the coin collecting world. One of the most famous errors from 2000 is the so-called missing clad layer error. Because Roosevelt dimes since 1965 were struck on copper-nickel clad planchets, each coin should have a silvery appearance with a distinct copper edge. But mistakes in planchet preparation occasionally resulted in coins missing one of the clad layers, exposing the copper core in a dramatic way. Collectors instantly recognize these coins by their unusual color, often a brassy or coppery tone, which sets them apart from normal dimes. These errors are extremely scarce, and when certified in high grade, they have been known to sell at auctions for staggering amounts. A 2000 P. Roosevelt dime with a missing clad layer in gem mint condition has sold for prices well above $20,000, with some exceptional examples reaching into the higher ranges of $28,000 to $130,000, depending on market demand. At off-center strikes are another error from 2000 that draws strong attention. When a dime is struck outside the collar, the design appears misaligned, sometimes with part of the coin blank showing unstruck. Off-center strikes ranging from 10% to 50% are dramatic and desirable, especially if the date remains fully visible. A 2000 P dime with a 40% off-center strike and full date has brought in several $1,000s at auction. More extreme off-center examples, particularly when paired with other striking issues, can push values into the tens of thousands. Double strike errors from 2000 also create some of the most visually striking dimes. These are coins that receive 2 impressions from the dies, often at different angles, producing ghostly, overlapping images of Roosevelt or the reverse torch design. Collectors love these kinds of errors because they are instantly recognizable and visually unique. Well-preserved double strike 2000 P dimes have been sold for 4 and even 5 figures depending on the sharpness of the error. Wrong planchet strikes add another level of intrigue. These are coins struck on blanks meant for other denominations, such as cents or foreign coins. Imagine finding a 2000 P dime struck on a cent planchet, appearing larger and made of copper rather than the expected clad composition. Such wrong planchet errors are spectacular finds, and some have realized tens of thousands of dollars at auction. The sheer rarity of these mistakes makes them highly competitive in the marketplace, where collectors are willing to pay top dollar. Condition, of course, plays an enormous role in determining value. Most 2000 P. Roosevelt dimes in circulation today are worn and worth only face value, but uncirculated examples certified in grades MS67 or higher start to bring in premiums. Add in an error or rarity, and the price skyrockets. Auction houses have reported sales of pristine 2000 P dime errors reaching astonishing levels, with some of the rarest fetching between $28,000 and $130,000. These figures underline just how valuable even a 10-cent coin can become when everything aligns perfectly. Proof-like examples, though not proofs themselves, also stand out in collections. These are coins struck with unusual brilliance or semi-reflective fields, which occasionally occur when fresh dies strike coins early in a production run. While not officially designated as proof issues, these proof-like 2000 P dimes, when paired with error varieties, can command impressive values. For collectors, the 2000 P Roosevelt dime represents the thrill of discovery. Imagine emptying a change jar and spotting a dime that looks slightly off in color or design, only to realize it's a missing clad layer error worth tens of thousands. Or imagine finding an off-center strike with the date still visible, a small mistake at the mint that transformed your dime into a potential windfall. Stories of such finds spread quickly in the numismatic world, fueling the hunt for more hidden treasures. Auction records confirm this excitement. One notable example was a missing clad layer 2000 P dime certified in mint state, which realized nearly $30,000 when sold at a major numismatic auction. Another off-metal strike error from the same year reached over $50,000 because of its rarity and dramatic appearance. And some of the most dramatic errors have flirted with six-figure prices, solidifying the 2000 P dime's reputation as one of the most intriguing modern error coins. When you think about it, that's the magic of coin collecting. A coin that millions of people passed over without a second thought became, in a few rare cases, a ticket to life-changing sums of money. These stories keep collectors motivated, scanning through pocket change, coin rolls, and old jars with the hope of discovering the next hidden gem. The 2000 P Roosevelt dime, especially in its error varieties, embodies everything that makes coin collecting so thrilling. It combines the history of a long-running design, the excitement of minting mistakes, the influence of condition and rarity, and the undeniable allure of high auction prices. Most dimes from that year will never be worth more than 10 cents. But for the lucky few who find the right coin, the reward can be monumental. The next time you handle a dime from the year 2000 with the tiny P mint mark, don't dismiss it as just another coin for the parking meter. Look closely at its surfaces, its color, its strike, and its alignment. Because hidden among those countless dimes are a handful that have already proven they can bring anywhere from $28,000 to $130,000 at auction. That's the kind of story that transforms a small coin into a legend. And it's why the 2000 P Roosevelt dime remains one of the most captivating treasures in modern numismatics. The Roosevelt dime has been one of the most consistent and recognizable coins in American history, carrying the face of President Franklin D. Roosevelt since 1946 and serving as an everyday part of life in the United States for decades. But as collectors know, it is often the most common and overlooked coins that hold the biggest surprises, and that is exactly the case with the 1987 D. Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it looks like just another dime struck at the Denver Mint, meant for vending machines, pocket change, and the millions of transactions that happen daily. Yet, hidden within this ordinary year of production are rare and valuable errors that have turned some examples of the 1987 D dime into coins worth more than houses, with prices ranging from $37,000 to $157,000 at auction. The story of this dime is one of discovery, patience, and the thrill of knowing that a simple 10-cent coin can hold the power to change someone's life. To fully understand the 1987 D. Roosevelt dime, it's important to take a moment to remember the coin's legacy. First issued in 1946 to honor the late President Roosevelt, who led the country through the Great Depression and World War II. The dime was also connected to his famous support of the March of Dimes, which fought against polio. The design by John Sinek has endured for decades, with Roosevelt's left-facing profile on the obverse and the symbolic torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, representing liberty, peace, and strength. By 1987, this design was more than 40 years old, and while millions of Americans carried these coins without a second thought, the Denver Mint was still striking dimes by the hundreds of millions to meet demand. Among this massive production, a handful of coins slipped through with extraordinary errors, creating a new chapter in the dime's legacy. These are the coins that collectors chase with passion, the ones that appear ordinary, but upon closer inspection reveal mistakes so striking and rare that they elevate the dime to legendary status. The 1987 D-Dime is particularly fascinating because it demonstrates how even in the modern minting era, when technology and quality controls were highly advanced, errors could still escape the mint and make their way into circulation. One of the most famous and valuable errors connected to the 1987 D-Dime is the off-center strike. An off-center dime occurs when the blank planchet is not properly seated in the collar during striking. Instead of the design being perfectly aligned, part of it is struck off to the side, leaving a portion of the coin blank. The degree of the off-center error greatly affects its value. A minor off-center might be interesting, but only modestly valuable, while a dramatic 40% to 60% off-center dime with a full visible date can be a showstopper. For 1987 D, these dramatic off-center errors in mint state condition have been known to reach auction prices that shock even experienced collectors. In fact, pristine examples with the date fully visible have fetched sums in the tens of thousands, with record sales reported in ranges close to $37,000, and in some exceptional circumstances, rare combinations of strike and condition pushing values well into six figures. Another error that stands out in the 1987 D-Dime is the double strike. When a coin is struck more than once, and the second strike is misaligned, the result is a coin with overlapping or ghostly images of Roosevelt's profile or the reverse torch design. These errors are both visually dramatic and unmistakably unique. Collectors prize them for their rarity and the sheer artistry of the mistake. A high-grade 1987 D double strike dime can bring extraordinary prices, with some sales documented at over $50,000, and in rare, dramatic cases, pushing past $100,000 at auction. Perhaps the most jaw-dropping error for the 1987 D-Dime is the wrong planchet strike. Occasionally, blanks intended for other coins find their way into the wrong presses. Imagine a dime struck on a copper cent planchet, appearing larger and reddish in tone, or a dime struck on a foreign coin blank that somehow ended up in the Denver Mint. These wrong planchet strikes are among the rarest of errors, and for the 1987 D-Dime, they can command incredible premiums. Auction records have shown values climbing from the tens of thousands into the astonishing range of $157,000 for the most dramatic examples, especially when paired with pristine mint state preservation and third-party certification. Missing clad layer errors are another variety worth mentioning. Dimes struck since 1965 are composed of copper-nickel clad layers over a copper core, giving them their silvery look with a hint of copper on the edge. But when one of the clad layers is missing, the coin takes on a strange coppery appearance, unlike anything most people have seen. Collectors immediately spot these errors. In the case of the 1987 D-Dime, missing clad layer examples in gem condition are exceptionally rare and desirable. Sales of these coins have ranged widely, but standout specimens have been reported in the $20,000 to $40,000 range, and when coupled with other unusual features, prices soar even higher. Then there are broad strikes, coins that expand outward because they were struck without the restraining collar. These errors give the coin a warped, almost oversized appearance that makes them instantly recognizable. While not as rare as some other mistakes, a broad-struck 1987 D-Dime in mint state condition can still be worth thousands of dollars, and particularly unusual examples have been recorded in auction results with strong collector demand. Condition is always key when it comes to error coins. The overwhelming majority of 1987 D-Dimes in circulation today are worth only face value, but the rare few with errors that also remain in pristine condition are the ones that bring staggering premiums. Certified examples graded MS-66 or MS-67 by PCGS or NGC often achieve impressive results, and when combined with dramatic errors, they reach legendary auction levels. A simple 10-cent coin suddenly transforms into a treasure worth anywhere from $37,000 to $157,000, depending on the exact nature of the error and the demand at the time of sale. What makes the 1987 D-Dime's so exciting for collectors is that it highlights the thrill of discovery. These coins were minted in the tens of millions, and yet, out of all those dimes, only a handful display the rare errors that make them extraordinary. Stories circulate of collectors finding them in rolls of change, tucked away in jars, or discovered in coin shop bargain bins where no one recognized the rarity. The idea that you could stumble upon one of these life-changing coins in the most ordinary of places keeps the hunt alive. Auction houses have documented the impact of these dimes on the numismatic market. Some 1987 D. Roosevelt dime errors have been sold for amounts that rival the prices of classic silver dollars, rare gold coins, and even historic colonial pieces. When a simple dime struck at the Denver Mint in the late 20th century can bring over $100,000, it reinforces the idea that modern coins, often overlooked, can be just as valuable and collectible as older issues. Every collector dreams of that moment when a small coin in their hand turns out to be a hidden treasure, and the 1987 D-Dime has provided exactly that experience. From dramatic off-center strikes and double strikes to wrong planchet errors and missing clad layers, this coin year proves that mistakes at the mint can become miracles for collectors. And with auction prices climbing from $37,000 and ranges as high as $157,000, the 1987 D. Roosevelt dime has secured its place as one of the most captivating modern error coins in United States numismatics. The next time you see a dime with the tiny D mint mark for 1987, take a closer look. Check for alignment, color, and design anomalies. You might be holding a piece of history, a dime that escaped the mint with a rare error and went on to become one of the most valuable treasures of its kind. That's the magic of coin collecting, where the smallest denomination can carry the largest surprises, and a coin worth 10 cents to most people can be worth $37,000 to $157,000 in the right hands. The Roosevelt dime has been a coin that many Americans barely glance at when it passes through their hands. Yet for coin collectors, every dime tells a story, and in some cases, those stories lead to life-changing discoveries. Among the countless millions of Roosevelt dimes struck since 1946, there are certain years and mint marks that have captured collectors' attention because of their rarity, their errors, or the shocking auction prices they have commanded. One of the most intriguing examples is the 1974 D. Roosevelt dime, a coin that was supposed to be just another mass-produced piece of change minted in Denver, but which has become a legend because of rare and bizarre minting errors that transformed it from pocket change into a numismatic treasure worth staggering sums. While most people would dismiss a 1974 D-dime as worthless beyond its 10-cent face value, collectors know that certain error examples of this coin have reached jaw-dropping auction prices, ranging anywhere from $44,000 to as high as $260,000, depending on the specific error and condition of the coin. Appreciate the significance of this dime. It's important to understand the context of the Roosevelt series in 1974. The coin had already been in circulation for almost 3 decades, designed by John Sinek to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt following his death in 1945. Roosevelt had been a strong advocate for the March of Dimes, an effort to combat polio, and the decision to place him on the dime was both symbolic and practical. By 1974, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of dimes for circulation, with no silver content since the changeover to clad copper nickel in 1965. The Denver Mint, designated by its D mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of these coins that year. For nearly everyone, they were just small pieces of everyday commerce. But as is often the case with large-scale production, mistakes slipped through, and those mistakes gave birth to some of the most spectacular and valuable error coins in modern numismatics. One of the most dramatic categories of errors for the 1974 D-dime involves off-center strikes. When a planchet is not correctly aligned in the coining press, the dies strike it partially off-center, leaving part of the design missing and sometimes showing a large blank crescent of metal. For most collectors, minor off-centers are interesting, but not especially valuable. However, dramatic 40% to 60% off-center strikes with a full visible date are treasures. On a 1974 D. Roosevelt dime, such an error is incredibly rare, and when preserved in mint state condition, it becomes highly desirable. Some examples have sold for tens of thousands, with exceptional ones surpassing the $44,000 mark at auction. Double strikes are another type of error that elevate the 1974 D-dime into numismatic legend. A double strike occurs when a coin is struck, fails to eject properly, and receives a second blow from the dies, leaving behind overlapping or distorted images. These errors can show Roosevelt's profile doubled, the torch and branches on the reverse appearing twice, or sometimes even flip strikes that create wild visual effects. Collectors prize these coins for their uniqueness. And in the case of the 1974 D-Dime, dramatic double strikes with clean preservation have shocked the market with sales reaching over $100,000. Even rarer are wrong planchet errors, where the dime design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination. Imagine a dime design appearing on a copper cent planchet, giving the coin a reddish appearance and a larger size than normal. Or a dime struck on a foreign coin blank, something that did occasionally happen in the 1970s when the U.S. Mint produced coins for other countries. These wrong planchet 1974 D-dimes are among the most coveted errors in existence. When authenticated and graded, they have stunned auction audiences, with prices not just creeping past six figures, but in rare cases soaring as high as $260,000. These are the coins that redefine what a small denomination coin can be worth. Missing clad layer errors are another spectacular possibility. Since 1965, Roosevelt dimes have been made from a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper nickel. Occasionally, one of those clad layers fails to bond properly, and the result is a coin that appears half copper or even fully copper on one side. These errors are immediately noticeable to the trained eye and create strong demand among collectors. A 1974 D-dime with a missing clad layer in mint state condition could sell for tens of thousands, and when combined with other errors such as misalignment or double strikes, the rarity multiplies and the prices climb into record-breaking territory. Broad strikes are yet another type of error connected to the 1974 D-dime. Normally, coins are struck within a collar that holds the planchet in place and creates a uniform edge. When that collar is missing, the coin spreads outward upon striking, resulting in a larger, flat-edged dime that looks completely abnormal. These broad-struck dimes are rare, but when discovered with clean detail, and especially with the Denver mint mark and date intact, they have brought impressive auction results. While not as high as wrong planchet errors, they have still crossed into the tens of thousands depending on condition. The condition of a 1974 D-error dime plays a critical role in its value. Circulated examples are interesting, but collectors and investors are always willing to pay premiums for mint state coins certified by third-party grading services such as PCGS or NGC. An MS66 or MS67 error dime from this year can bring dramatically higher prices than lower-grade examples, sometimes doubling or tripling the value simply because of condition. When a dramatic error, such as a wrong planchet or double strike, combines with high-grade preservation, the results can be extraordinary. Auction houses have documented these kinds of sales, where seemingly ordinary dimes became treasures commanding anywhere from $44,000 up to a staggering $260,000. The 1974 D-dime stands out because it reminds collectors and everyday people alike that value can be hidden in the smallest and most overlooked places. These coins were struck by the hundreds of millions, passed through countless vending machines, pockets, and cash registers. Yet among all those ordinary dimes, a handful slipped through with extraordinary mistakes, and those mistakes turned them into legends of the coin world. Collectors continue to hunt for them in rolls, in jars of change, in dealer bins, and even in inherited collections where coins sit untouched for decades. The possibility that one of these life-changing dimes could be hiding in plain sight keeps the excitement alive. Auction stories only fuel this passion further. Tales of a collector who discovered a 1974 D-dime with a missing clad layer and sold it for more than $50,000, or of a double strike error bringing well over $100,000, inspire both seasoned numismatists and beginners. The crown jewel, of course, is the wrong planchet strike that sold for a staggering $260,000, rewriting the record books and proving once again that modern dimes can hold just as much allure as ancient rarities or historic gold coins. The legacy of the 1974 D. Roosevelt dime is one of surprise, rarity, and the power of human error in the minting process. In a world where technology was supposed to prevent mistakes, the few that slipped through became miracles for those who found them. These coins prove that even the smallest denomination can carry immense value when history, rarity, and collector demand collide. The next time you pick up a dime and glance at the date, pay closer attention if you see 1974 with a D mint mark. Look for signs of misalignment, strange coloration, missing layers, or distorted designs. Because hidden in plain sight, that little coin could be far more than 10 cents. It could be worth $44,000. Or it could be one of those extraordinary examples that climbs to an unbelievable $260,000, changing your life with the flip of a coin. And that is the true magic of coin collecting, where the most ordinary object can become the most extraordinary treasure.